Oh,
Yes, we are now
okay.
here. Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
everybody. Okay, so we don't need, you know what? Let me do some of the talking so that you're not exhibiting all of your symptoms, shall we say. Hi, everybody. I'm back.
She is back, and then she banished me from the store, put me in quarantine. Something
It
about
was not
me
my,
not
it
wanting
was
to.
your choice
This
because
is
you're a
my choice. I said
responsible adult.
I was more than welcome to sit beside you and cough up a lung in your lap, and you said no, thank you.
Yeah, well, maybe we should take a poll and see how many other people felt the same way about you not. But anyway, I am back from Ottawa. They're horrible heat.
Well, we've been
And
pretty
I came back to heat.
Well, I
So
think you brought it with you. I think you sent it in advance and then brought it with you.
it's not as hot. I have to tell you, it is not as hot here as it was there, nor is it anywhere near as humid. So
Yeah, the
that
humidity is a big
is, yeah.
difference.
But I did have a wonderful time, wonderful visit with
I'm
everybody. So
glad you
it was
did.
great.
We missed you, but we had some awesome fill-in hosts while you were gone.
You did. I enjoyed watching them because I don't watch me. So it was fun to watch the video when it's not me doing it. So
There you go. So yeah,
aha.
we learned some great information. All right, so let's kick it off right off the bat with some announcements. Okay, so
Okay.
first we've got Kimberbell Club tomorrow.
Right.
But there's a little caveat in that because as Deborah doesn't seem to want it, so tomorrow our day in person one is being canceled. I'll still do the evening Zoom one. So if you were planning on attending the day, do sign up for the evening one. And you can still enjoy my wonderful company between computers. Um, it's just there was a mix up in scheduling for Carrie, and I just really don't want to share this with everybody. I'm being greedy, okay? Let's face it, I'm greedy.
You want to
I
keep it to yourself.
want to keep it to
Okay.
myself, okay? Because I'm having so much fun.
Absolutely.
So that
So I will send out an email to anybody who is scheduled for in
for
person
tomorrow.
tomorrow, let them know
Yeah,
to switch to, and then we can, or maybe we can just automatically do it and you can send them the link. Um
and then the
that
Kimberbell
Okay.
Day
Yes, is a week
next
Saturday.
is a week Saturday. So if you, okay, so you need to make sure, if you haven't already, to sign up on the Kimberbell website. And then that will get you, so that they will send you then the files for the design that they're focusing on that day. You'll also receive a link to watch their presentation or whatever it is, the Kimberbell Day. So you can watch it there. If you would rather come and watch it with a group of wonderful people like me and Carrie and there's a bunch of other people coming, then you need to register on our website for the class so we know how many to expect. So we've got enough chairs for everybody, we've got some snacks for everybody, and those kind of things. So make sure you register on both, okay? And then as a store will set up the projector up on the wall, and we'll watch Kim and whatever they have planned as a group. So that's kind of the plan. So if you've got that, and this is at the Surrey store. And then, oh, there's a class. I think we've put it in recent. So we've got the sample there.
Yes, I have a sample and I have my own personal Vanna here standing by to show us. And here's our sample. It's the I Spy quilt. And are you getting a good view?
Oh, she
Okay,
dropped us.
we
Okay,
we keep
thanks.
getting the ceiling. So here we go. Oh, look at the penguins. That is too cute.
So
Okay,
if you're not sure what an I Spy quilt is, it really is just one of those ones where you take a whole bunch of random um, blocks or fabrics. They're cut to a certain size, and then you just take
okay,
and sew them all together. It's not a complicated quilt, but it's quite a fun quilt. And if memory serves me correctly, I think everybody getting together is just going to bring their fabrics and stuff and then cut them, and you guys can exchange
yeah.
different
Hmm.
fabrics. And so you'll get some new ones, and that's really the fun of doing an I Spy quilt, is getting together as a group and
Yeah,
sharing fabrics.
it's
Um,
definitely a social gathering. Yeah.
yeah, because there's some fabrics that are really cute and would work great in there, but you really don't want to buy a meter of it or even half
No,
a meter.
no,
And so this
exactly.
way you get some nice mixtures and some fun. And then it's called an I Spy. So you can play games and say, okay, I see, the purple one with penguins or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so it's
It's
a
a
fun,
it's a fabric form of concentration.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I won't be playing because that's not what I'm doing right now.
And we'll forgive you for that right now.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you another 24, 48 hours, and then I expect you to be back on top of everything.
yeah. Good luck with that. I gave myself that last week, and apparently I'm not listening.
Okay. All right. Well, I told you now, so do it.
Yeah, I'm shaking in my boots. And I don't have boots on, so there. Anyways, so we're taking advantage today of me being home in my sewing room. And so I'm going to share with you a couple of storage tips,
I'm still
organization tips.
I'm still thinking of when you asked me if I had any.
Well, okay,
And
we all have
we'll
a way of,
start with, well, yes, I organize mine by project. But beyond that, and that is kind of a loose description of how I organize my fabric. But like I said, I am getting someone, a young lady, to come in and help me organize my sewing room.
and that
Because
same young lady won't come and help me with mine. That's not fair. We know who she
that,
loves more.
yeah, but I'm gonna pay her.
Yeah, but I gave birth to her.
Oh, well, this is true. But if anybody's in the same boat as me, I can just give your name to her, and maybe if she's got free time, she could be doing some organizing for somebody else, because I am in desperate need of some help. So mine doesn't look anywhere neat as Lori's does.
Well, first of
So
all, okay, organizing is not um an issue I have. I can organize things. Okay. Okay, think of ideas on how to organize it. Sometimes physically being able to do it is another story. So, and once things are organized, my problem is when I start working on stuff, because like I'll take my fabric out and then I'll cut it and I'll do whatever, and then it goes to the side here to be put away later. And then my pile gets like higher and higher, and then I've got a couple of shelves here that just get shoved in there. It's amazing because I knew I was going to do this. I kind of had to organize some stuff or like clean some areas up. So I had my table, and as I'm like, oh, I forgot I had this. Oh, this. Oh, I found so much new fabric.
yeah, I find duplicate patterns that way. Yeah, I find duplicate patterns that way.
The upside with most digital things that I do with the digital for uh embroidery is that companies won't let you buy two of the same one for the most part. Otherwise, I'd probably
Yeah.
be doing that too. But yes, I found some really cool, cute fabric that I forgot I had. And so my shelves are a little bit on this side are organized, and I'll show you that. And so what I'm going to show you is how I fold my fabric to go on my shelves so that it is organized. I've been doing this for a while, like even before I heard some other different ways. So it started off because I like the way it looks when it's on a bolt. right? It's nice, and my initial thoughts was when I was doing this was to create some mini bolts that I could fold my fabric on and then have my shelves all look like bolts. Problem with that turned out to be was that you need to have pretty much like at least, well, I've got two, well, you need to have a meter for it to go onto the bolt thing. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. It doesn't wrap around.
Yeah.
And so when I use it, so I may buy in a meter, but as I'm using it, it's going to go down. And so it's not quite a meter anymore. Or else if I'm buying like fat quarters or like I buy those kind of things, that doesn't work. So I've had to alter it a little bit. And then when I was originally doing this, I was using corrugated plastic, Coroplast.
Okay. Yeah.
And you used to get that like super, super cheap because I used to use it for a bunch of other stuff. But when I went to go and do, but it's gotten very expensive over the years. So how much I would have needed for all my fabric, I would have had to take out a mortgage. Husband said no.
Oh,
Well, he
okay.
said, maybe you need to cut back on the fabric. Yeah, I know. And then he realized what he said and said he had to go
And
for a run.
and the yes,
Long run.
live to fight another day.
Yeah, pretty much. So so I've kind of altered it a little bit, and I'll show you how I take and do that. Maybe I'll pop this down. So if you guys can see the other screen I have there where it's just my camera. Okay. So these are my shelves. So you can see I have them all organized. And so by color. And then
Should I be seeing this?
they should be seeing it. And actually what I could take and do is so that everyone can see it really good is I will pin this one. All right. There. So that's everything everyone's seeing. Okay. So as you can see, I've got like some fancy or like specialty fabrics up there, some odd stuff. I've got my reds, my grays, my blacks, my whites, my purples, my browns. I realize I have a lot of blues and greens and pinks. So, and then behind me, I have got all my Christmas fabric, but I'm going to show you some of this stuff here. Let's see, which is probably the easiest. So if you see with my pinks, I've got longer folds, shorter folds, and then these are all my fat quarters or smaller folds or smaller amounts. So I've kind of got that set up that way. Now I'm going to pop you back up here because you're going to be needed. There we go. Now sit down. I will unpin you, remove pin. There we go. Now we're back. So that's kind of how I organize it. And I use two different, well, kind of three or four. All right. So I have my corrugated. This is the size that I use for my bolts. So I've measured it so it's slightly longer than the end of my shelf because otherwise it would have been too short and I have to fold it too much. Because I don't want it to be folded to, so if I fold the fabric too much, then it starts to get too much bulk and I can't get as much on the shelf. So I want it out as long as I possibly can. So it goes off probably about an inch, inch and a half off the end of the shelf. And then I measured this, and this one is about 5.5 inches. So I can get multiple on the shelf going this way. So I measure and divide my shelf. I also have some square ones for smaller pieces. I didn't find this as effective, but I found this one. So if you get those takeout containers, and this one is the one I use for anything under a meter, but bigger than a fat quarter. So I still have the full width of fabric, but it's under a meter. This is the one that I I use. So those are the sizes that I use, and I roll it up pretty simple, just like the, so I get my fabric. So I'll pin this again so you guys can see it. So it's kind of full screen. Okay, so I got my fabric, my little stitch fabric. Yes, so I opened it up. So it is just like it's off the bolt at the store. Okay. And then I fold the fold into the center, not all the way. And then I fold the end a little bit in. Again, not all the way, because I want it the length of my core class. So I adjust it. So it's roughly about that size. And then everything, as I roll it and put it on my shelf, it's all the same size. It's all the same length. And then I can easily see the ends of the fabric and be able to tell what it is. Pop it about here. And then I fold it. Now, this is the tricky part, okay? When you do this, you want to make sure that it's even on your folds. And when you roll it on here, it's even and straight. Because if it's not and you start rolling it, it's going to go crooked. And then when you start to use it, then you're going to be cutting crooked. Okay, so don't do it if you're tired or sleepy. You know, so kind of this the same thing as if you're not sure how your thinking is, probably don't do it. But you want to make sure, and then I hold that nice and tight, and then I just keep popping it over, pushing that over so it's nice and tight. So it's a nice tight fit. Okay, making sure everything kind of stays nice and even. When you're done, you want to make sure that it only goes about halfway. Okay, so now I have that. So I'm not using a whole bunch of these, then I just slide it out of the center. So then this is just something I can reuse and reuse. And then this will go on my shelf. And then when I go to use it, I just unfold that little bit. And then however much, do my measurements and cut from there. And then I just can roll this right back up. And then it goes back on my shelf, nice and neat. In theory, if I put it away when I'm done.
Well done. Well done.
For the smaller ones, I'll just kind of show you that one. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. So it's the same concept. The only thing is it's going to fold over a little bit more until I'm pretty much the same size. I don't worry about this being double as much because there's not that much fabric. It's less than a meter. And then I'll just, again, fold it and roll it and then have it in that pile. So then I've got the two separate piles, and based on that, I know how much. The other thing is when it's folded this way, I'm going to have to refold this. I also don't have creases in it because it's rounded. And so I find I don't have a lot of fold marks in my fabric, which is nice. I find sometimes like when I fold it and start piling it up a little bit too high or whatever with all those folds in it, then I unwrap it and then I've got folds. The other thing that why I like it this way with widths of fabric, like if I'm doing something where I have to cut from one end of the width to the other, it's already there. So I just unwind it. I need 3 inches and go. So I've got.
I like that idea. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I've seen there was a little bit around for a bit where people were using the cardboards that are used for magazine storage, like comic books. I've tried it a little bit. I don't like the size. Now that's a personal preference. Okay. Everybody does the different things. I just find, especially when you've got a meter or whatever, because it is only 8 by 11. So you really have to fold it down. You're going to have thicker ones. And again, you run into the same thing when you're wanting that width of fabric and all that. So I find if it's folded too much, even with this, and if I'm doing strips, it's harder to get nice straight strips on the grade. This way you've got very little extra fold. Now, again, personal preference. So that's one thing. The other thing that I get asked a bit on is when I'm prepping stuff for my projects, because there's a lot of times where I have so much on the go. And then that, not by choice, but just because of life. And so when I start picking projects for classes or other things, I'll get the fabric and I'll bring it home. And what I like to take and do is pre-cut my fabric and get it all set up. And the reason for that is a lot of times I don't have time to sit down where I'm going, okay, I've got the next 4 hours to sew. Sometimes I'm like in, out, this and that, and I've got like half an hour. And so if I have to sit there at the same time, is get everything out, cut the piece that I'm going to be working with. By the time I've gotten to that, it's time to go.
Right.
So it just isn't going to happen. So by me having all the stuff pre-cut, then if I've got a half an hour, I can just grab that block or grab that project, get it on my machine, and it's going. Or if I'm multitasking and doing a couple of different things, I can have a block being stitched out while I'm doing something else because I don't have to worry about that.
Right, yeah.
So it does boil down to a lot of preparation. So there's times where if I do have time to sit, I will cut up a lot of projects at once and then label it. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that I take and do that. Zippy bags are my favorite. Okay. I don't tend to use the ones like the Ziploc ones because they get expensive when you're using those ones. I just go to the dollar store. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to leave. Now you have to watch. Okay. Because sometimes there's chemicals and those kind of things. You're not going to want to leave these in the bags long term in the hot sun.
Yeah.
Whatever. This comes from my knowledge from doing a whole bunch of scrapbooking stuff with acid or whatever. But for a short term, they're fine. So, and you can also get bigger ones at the dollar store. Okay. Yeah. You may only get 5 in the package. Let me see if I got my box. Okay. So these are slide seals. There's 5. It does say BPA free, so that means there's not a lot of chemicals in it, which is good. So, I mean, it may be $3 or $4 for, because, you know, it's not $1 anymore. But the point is you can get the nice big ones, this. And depending on what I'm doing, sometimes I will mark in the little thing right in there, like what the project is. Sometimes I don't, so that I can reuse the bags, but you can always put a sticker over that. So I'm doing pillows for my couch. I came home, cut up the fabric into the sizes I would need. So now it's here. So when I get a chance to sit at my sewing machine, I can just grab these, stitch them out, throw them in here. If they're not quite done, it's all together and ready to go. The other way I do that is I've got my embroidery project. So this one is an upcoming class. This one is the fall harvest wall hanging by Juju. I just printed off the first the picture of the project and the block cutting pages. Then I go through and I pick my fabric. So I label it fabric 1, fabric 2. And this is something, I mean, this is just a very rough thing. I teach a lot of this sometimes in my class. Label my fabric, and then I go cut it out. I've got all my markings here, and then I cut my fabric. I use those handy dandy little pin or clips, the Wonder clips. Label the fabric of what it is. I've got it all labeled, all my pieces there. I also, at the same time, cut my batting for my pieces. So everything is cut. Now, some projects, I may have different sizes of this. So like if it's a Kimber Bell project, then I will have them labeled as well as what size they are. So I've got my batting, I've got my fabric, I've got my instructions. Oh, I'm throwing bags everywhere. Open up my bag. And it all goes into the zippy bag. And it's there. So now if I get 5 minutes or half an hour, I can, and I'm going, okay, I need to work on that. I grab this, sit over at my machine, and it's all there. For some of the pieces that need the SF101, I cut those as well. It's all cut. I sit and cut it all at once. And I tried to do it as soon as I get special fabric or fabric specific for that. You were there when I picked all the fabric for the chunky pumpkin one.
Yes, yeah, yes, yeah.
I didn't do that. I brought it home, sat it on my table, and I'm like, I'll get to it later. And then when I got to it, I'm looking, I'm going, I don't remember.
That's the worst. I can't remember what I was going to do with, like, and it's as simple as putting a little label on it, for heaven's sake,
I
sometimes.
remembered part of it. Like I do remember the greens, how I wanted to, but there was one fabric that I bought that was going to be the background and one this, and so it was my backgrounds and my borders, and I'm going, I don't remember. So I just repicked. And so what it's turning out great. I've shown you guys the samples for that.
Yeah, it is.
So it's turning out great, but I don't know if it was my original idea. I don't know. So here's another example. So I have quilting through the season all in here. So I've got, as you can see, it's a thicker bag, but I've got my instructions in there. I've got the blocks. Once they're done, they all go in there. So it's all here, so I don't lose it. Because, you know, I'm so super organized and put everything where it belongs that, you know. Yeah, I have to find some way.
Right.
So those are some kind of just some organization ideas for keeping projects. And it doesn't even matter, like the I Spy quilt, right? That's coming up. You know, as you're looking through some different fabrics and stuff, throw them into a bag and sit there and say,
Yeah,
yeah. And then you've got them there.
Those are really good tips, and I really like the one about the bigger bags that you were talking about. I sometimes put like a project, especially like a embroidered quilt one in the really big bags. I don't know if you've seen those ones, like they're mega, those ones, yeah. But I've never used the in between size, and I think I'll get some of those because they'll be quite helpful.
I find them so super helpful. And then if you have like a shelf, one thing I was taking and using at one point at Michael's, you can get those 12 by 12 snap containers.
Yes, I have some of those. Yeah.
Okay. The problem I found with those is sometimes like the smaller projects, they're just too big. They do take up a lot more room. I do have a couple of projects, like I have a quilt that I'm working on, and so I have some of the pieces in there so it lays a little fatter. So there are pros and cons to both. And so it really depends on what your space is. You know, so if you have a lot more space, you know, those ones you can stack them.
Yes.
Even if it's on the edge of the table, and then you can, you know, label them. So it says, you know, this quilt, that quilt, whatever it may be. And then, so then you can see where it is and you can pull them out a little bit easier.
Yeah.
In the bags, it's not quite so easy. I'm trying to keep it under control that I don't have so many projects going.
That is my goal for next year. That was this year's goal, but it's shifted to.
Yeah, I'm just living in delusions. Okay. You know, that's just that really is, you know,
it gets shifted every year, but we do what we can, and we can mix and match some of these ideas. Yeah. It doesn't have to be all one.
You can, you know, for more bigger projects that you know is going to take you a lot longer, definitely use those harder case ones, right? But if it's smaller projects that you're going to be working on and you know you're going to get it done in the next week or two, then use the zippy bags. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
one right way for everybody.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly. And so just do what works at
do what
that
works,
moment. Yeah,
and what works changes as well.
exactly.
So,
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
we want to see here. Oh, I'm gonna knock that off and send you guys so you can see my ceiling. You see, make a skylight, which makes my sewing room extremely hot because it's a self-facing
Yes.
skylight.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So in the comments, share
Hmm.
some of your guys' organizing.
Yes. Yes.
So
People give
something
us
that
some
you
ideas,
find
what you
that
do.
works. Um,
And we'll mention them. If we get some, we can say, you can either tell us we can or not use your name, but we can give
well,
up other
yeah, they'll be
people's
on there.
ideas.
If they post them, their name's going to be there. Or you can just let
Yes.
us know. But yeah, I mean, that's how we learn is,
Yes.
organizing and, seeing something, oh, that works. And sometimes we change room areas and what worked in the one room isn't working in the next room. Though I do have a
It
public
just
service
depends.
announcement. If you do have a sewing machine in a common area, don't put it near the top of the stairs in an active walkway. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because everybody sits there instead of putting things away where it belongs, just figures they can dump it on there. So half
Yeah.
the time I got time to go and sew something, but I'm like going, well, now that time's gone because now I have to clean off the sewing machine.
I would just throw it on the floor.
Mm. Yeah,
But you're nicer than me.
I got to be careful what's on my floors. I got dogs,
Oh, this is true. This is true.
and
Yeah.
as we found out last week, the new puppy has a very good nose. Well, he's blind, almost completely blind. So his nose works really good. Hence why some chocolate that fell behind a whole bunch of fabric that I didn't know about. The other dogs didn't notice, but Dusty did. That was very expensive.
Yeah, that would be expensive, especially because he did eat quite a bit, or she did.
He did. He did.
He
Okay.
did, yeah.
All right. So,
Okay,
all right.
is that it for today,
I
this
think
week?
so. Huh?
Okay, so that's it for this week, and it's good to be back.
Yes.
I did enjoy my your other co-hosts, so
Good co-host. Carrie, we're gonna have to get Carrie again and then that
yeah.
because last week I was starting to get sick. I didn't realize that I was getting sick and I forgot my shot of sugar before I go. So yeah, I'm like, I get home and I'm like dying. I'm like, I think I don't know if Carrie had the best experience last week because
So we need to try that again then.
I have to try that again.
Sounds like a plan.
All
Okay,
right, so we will
all
see
right.
you guys next week. We have a
Yep,
really good topic next week. Not that we don't have good topics, but next week we have a really good one.
we have a really good one.
We have a
Okay,
really good one. We do. We do. Okay. We'll talk to you
all right.
later. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.